television. And we're back. Thanks. Hey. So here we have Pete Marino. I met Pete last year. We did some kid fishing days, and I remember because I'm a Dolphin fan, so I always asked him, is he related to Dan Marino? Because I got about 7 jerseys, the bobblehead doll. But you're a professional tournament angler. Man, 38 first place finishes, 12 Angler of the Year championships, licensed professional bass fishing guide. A pro staffer like myself, again, got to meet you last year. We did a couple kids fishing days
couldn't believe it. I saw it either.
Doing seminars, bass fishing, and spawn bass fishing, etc. Man, so Pete Marino, how long have you been with Bass Pro?
I've been on pro staff here for maybe 10 years, maybe 11 years. It's been a while. They're adding up.
Yeah. So when we talked about when we gave our theme, we did want to talk about different stories and stuff. So like stories of maybe what got you to be a bass angler, like we talked about Bubba wanted to do it. How'd you get involved in following the sport, or did you ride your bike to the lake as a kid in the early days, or how did you what got you into fishing started?
I actually grew up racing motocross.
Well, congratulations, I'm happy for you.
I was very supportive right from day one. And when I got to the point where I just was like, well, am I going to be able to turn pro and make a career of this? It was a quick no. I grew up with a lot of guys that race professionally. I didn't ever have the speed. I didn't ever have the right bikes, the good bikes. But I grew up super competitive. So, and I also grew up fishing. I fished for everything: catfish, saltwater fish, bluegill, what have you, trout. But I didn't really even know anything about bass fishing tournaments. And right around 1998, like I started kind of getting out of the motocross thing, taking it so seriously, and that's when I came to the realization when I knew I wasn't going to make it to the next level. And my buddy told me about bass tournaments, and I'm like, well, I love fishing. I'm going to start fishing for bass, and I just really got into it slowly but surely. And I told my buddy that I was going to go buy a boat. When he told me about the whole bass tournament thing, because I just didn't follow growing up as far as the professional bass stuff. But when he told me that there was professional bass tournaments, I'm like, I'm getting a boat and I'm going to win every tournament. And he was like, you're an idiot. So, I mean, I just had no idea, but I started doing tournaments, me and him, doing some team tournaments. We got our tails kicked for the first 4 months. I don't even know if we weighed a fish for 4 months in a row. And it was pretty tough. And I knew then, though, that, my competitive juices went from motocross straight into bass fishing, because I liked the feeling it gave me. It gave me the adrenaline rush, I liked the competition, the camaraderie, and it just spawned from that mixed bag.
Yeah. So Bubba here again is an amateur on the tour. What kind of question you got for sitting in with somebody that's won that many tournaments? What question would you ask him, Bubba? You got to ask the pro.
Remember your first win? How did that go? Yeah, my first win. I don't remember that. I have 38 of them. I've been fortunate enough to step on the top step 38 times. I don't think I remember my first win. I think it was with my wife, actually. We fished quite a few years together, many years together, and we're fishing again. We just started fishing again together this season. We have a 6-year-old, so she took a couple years off, but I think my first win was with her. My first win, I think I caught a 11-pounder, and I remember telling my wife in that tournament when I had that big fish on, I said, if this is a bass, it's game over, we're going to win. And it was a bass, and we won. I don't know if that was the first one, though, but yeah, all my wins, all 38 things, each one has been special for different reasons. I've never taken it for granted. You're only as good as your last day on the water. And the goal is to get consistent. And if you're consistent, and I do know that after you win once, I was going to say it gets easier. It doesn't get easier because the competition's tough, but the mindset is easier to me. Like it puts you, you go from thinking, am I going to catch fish today to when I catch fish. Okay, so it's a different mindset. And once you have that, like on my first Angler of the Year award, my first Angler of the Year title, I have 12 of them. It's tough to win Angler of the Year. The Angler of the Year means you've been the best all year, not just for a single tournament. So you got to be consistent. So I go into every season wanting to win Angler of the Year, and of course wanting to win every tournament. Doesn't happen? No, the competition is pretty stiff. But that's the goal, and it's just a mindset. So if you go in wanting that, it becomes the standard. Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with setting your standards high and holding yourself accountable for something that you love to do. You know, again, I like to tie in business metaphors or different life metaphors, but when you're with some people that are maybe on the fence, when you start to commit to something, it's going to take that time, right? If you want to set yourself and have your goal, a target for you to hit, I think it's important because that's what's going to keep you the days when you don't want to, the days when it is tough, when it's frustrating, to remind you, you know, kind of give you a reminder, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You got to, well, for me, I condition my mind even more than I condition my body. I'm prepared for the rainy days long before the rainy days happen. I go out on the blisterous days just for fun. And people say, why would you do that? I had a day, like I had an interview a couple of months ago, and the guy asked me about how I condition my mentally and how I condition my mind. I go out and practice when it calls for rain or high wind. I go out on those days. Is it fun? No, it's not. But on tournament day, when it's windy or when it's raining, I'm not going in. You know, I'm staying out. I'm in it. It's just like another day at the office to me. And whereas a lot of guys that go run for the code, they run for cover, or they go in and just call it a day. I never do that. I never would do that. Would I do that in the beginning? Yeah, probably. But I just years and years and years and years of conditioning my mind. I mean, it's helpful.
He had a buddy of mine that was working as a pro surfer, and he would say windy days, small days, 1 foot days, and we're like, Felix, why are you doing that? And he'd say, because if you get to a contest, it's not going to be 6 to 8 foot perfect every time. And if I'm only used to surfing in certain conditions, then when you come across something different. What about you, Bubs? Next question. I know you got a few for him.
All right. What are you local? Are you
Yeah. So I grew up out here in Montclair. Rancho Cucamonga is like one of my stomping grounds. I live out by Lake Paris now. I started guiding about 14 years ago. So I moved out there and to be closer to the lake. And I am a local.
You
been here my whole life.
derbies and stuff out here? Or?
Yeah, I fish all the American bass tournaments at Lake Paris and Diamond Valley as well. I guide on both lakes. I also fish a lot of the West Coast Pro-Ams, the U.S. Open. I got the Arizona Open, the One Bass Arizona Open.
See you there.
Yeah. Oh, you're
Hopefully match up.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're going to be in for some fun. It's going to be a good tournament.
That'd be amazing if you guys could somehow, some way, the universe put you guys together. That'd be like
I think 127.
Yeah. It's going to be a good event. Those smallmouth are going to be in pre-spawn in 2 weeks. They just had a tournament out there, the FLW was last weekend. I didn't do that tournament because I've already committed to the One Bass stuff, but it's going to be a good tournament. They're going to get some better weather.
A little slower.
Yeah, but there was a lot of largemouth that were being caught, and these smallmouth are going to get into the pre-spawn and spawn mode for the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
It's going to be fun.
So for those tournaments, is it because I don't do a lot of bass fishing at all. I'm more of a saltwater guy because I love to eat the fish that I catch a lot. Do they combine it where it's a smallmouth and a largemouth in the same type of
so you're
tournament?
able to catch, as long as you have 5, you're able to catch either 5 largemouth, 5 smallmouth, or mixed, it doesn't matter. And no striper, okay, it's largemouth and smallmouth, that's it.
Because where we live at, the only lake I do fish is Casitas, and I've never seen a smallmouth. And I heard they're one of the well, besides here, but as far as like catching, right? I heard like they fight pound for pound harder than a largemouth. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. They're 100% more aggressive. They school more aggressively than largemouth, in my opinion. I mean, you can catch a 3-pound smallmouth, and they put up a pretty good fight. They fight like a 5 or 6 pound largemouth.
Wait, I take that back. When I joined my church, they had a bass fishing club, and I did bass fish I got 3rd place that year, first time bass fishing. My favorite thing was the drop shot on the ox blood. The ox blood and the rope and the sexy shad. That was the one I went to and actually did get 3rd place with the club. There was like 6 of us in the club, and it's way to fellowship, and they were the first ones to bring me to Bass Pro, so it's kind of full circle. What do you have a go-to? Is there something that's like, reliable, or does it change?
No, it changes. It changes a lot. I mean, I'm known by a lot of guys as a finesse guy. A lot of people know that I like the drop shot or like fly line is Seiko. Those are staples. But I'm pretty seasonal. Like, if I'm in pre-spawn, I throw baits that are facing, that are on the ground, because these fish are facing down. In the fall, these fish are looking up. So top water, depending on the season, I have a lot of different techniques. That's what makes me a pretty decent tournament fisherman, is versatile. If you want to succeed in bass fishing, you've got to expand your horizons, be more versatile. Because there's times that they don't need a drop shot. There's times they don't need a top water. And you need to be able to be efficient with all these different techniques. There's a couple different techniques I don't like. Everybody knows that I'm not a jerkbait guy. I just don't, and I'm going to change that this year. I have the forward-facing sonar now, and I can see where the jerkbait is going to be extremely helpful. But in general, I've never really been much of a jerkbait guy or a dead rig. I don't throw a dead rig. I just don't do it. No. I don't know what it is about the Ned rig. I could stand there like a statue, throwing a fly line, Senko, or rock shot or whatever. But for some reason, I got mental block against the Ned rig. Those two tips. If it's a Ned rig fight, I'll get it a different guy. I can't do it for some reason. The jerkbait, same thing. I mean, there's other things I'd much rather throw, like a tail spinner, crane, or something. So, or an Alabama crane. Fishing with those. But it really pays to be.
So I tell, go ahead.
So that forward facing, is that how long have you had it on?
I got the forward facing in November, and I told myself that I wanted to start peaking and be extremely, what I would consider extremely knowledgeable about it before the U.S. Open this year. So here we are, we're in February, so I've had it for 3 months now, and I'm already at that point. So I'm going to be, I'm way further along than I thought I would be with it. It's a game changer. Absolutely. There's been, in bass fishing, there's been things that have changed the sport. I'm sure there was things before what I'm going to tell you, but in my time, Yamamoto, Senko, they were game changers. Okay, that's everybody throws a Senko. Everybody throws a Senko at some point in time. It was a game changer when it came out. The next thing, the next biggest game changer, in my opinion, was the spot lock on the Minn Kota trolling motor, or even the Ghost has it. But being able to push a button and have yourself anchored there, it was a game changer. Because you fish more efficiently, and now the forward-facing sonar, even more. I mean, I can be fishing in an area, and I've had it happen, and I wanted to learn during the toughest time of year, so I got it in November, and it was just baby steps. The first 2 times I went out, I kept telling myself and all my friends, I'm trying not to say I hate it, because I'm really bad with change, I'm not very techy, so I wasn't sure whether I liked it or not, and I made myself intentionally not form an opinion on it because I knew that was going to be it when I first saw it, and I did, and I kept telling myself, don't say, but after like the 3rd time, it was baby steps, and I kept telling myself, baby steps, don't try to learn it all one day, don't try to because if you try to form an opinion on it after just one time, you overwhelm yourself. I kept my normal Lowrance HDS straps on the boat, and I had that Garmin graph for just the forward facing. And it got to the point where, like on the 3rd trip, I was catching fish, and I would see a fish, I don't know, 30 feet to the left. I would scan around, get to scan the area, and you actually see the fish out in front of wherever the trolling motor is pointing. And I would see fish like 30 feet to the left. And it's a very small piece of the pie, right? It's just a very specific cast. And I would cast, I think on the 3rd trip with it, I cast it out to a fish I saw in one direction, and I caught that fish. And I'm like, oh, light bulb, I'm like, there it is. That just happened. And when I got introduced to it, was at the U.S. Open this past year. One of my pros said, hop in front, because I had to fish it as a coin, because I had other obligations with my boat. So I did it as a coin. My pro that I had that day had it, and he told me to run the boat, and I was up on front, and I saw a fish, a small one. It just showed as a fish, but I knew it was a small one. Like Mojave, it was a small one. I saw it like 45 feet in front of the boat. I made a cast, and that exact cast, I watched my bait go down, and I watched this smallmouth swim 10 feet to my bait and disappeared, and the fish hooked up. It was a 4-pound smallmouth. I'm like, light bulb on, I'm like, this will help me, right? So I went and got it, and I had baby steps along the way, and now I won't even make a cast unless I see the fish, okay? And so I'll catch one, and then I'll stand around, and like even when I'm guiding, it helps, because I'll be like, cast that way. make that cast 40 feet from the boat, 20 feet from the boat, whatever it is, and I'll catch those fish. So, and that's during the toughest time of year. November, December, January, it's tough. So I wanted to learn it during those times so I could excel once the season started. And we'll see how it goes. But it's a game changer.
Oh yeah, I run an active car out of the back of the road going. I have that setup.
Oh wow.
It's amazing. It's a game changer.
For sure. For sure. It's going to help. Is it the end all? No.
You still have to be able to fit.
But to be able to fish efficiently and only cast to where the fish are, I mean, without it, we just cast right all around the boat. Now I scan around, and if I see a fish there, I'm making that cast. And I've heard from guys at the US Open, non-boaters that talk about the boaters that had it, they would just hold their bait, scan around, and if they didn't see fish, they move, or whatever, move the boat, or get on the big motor, make a big move. But when they saw one, they make that cast. And I catch myself doing it.
I got to jump in now because I'm standing around and I see that they're ready for some more raffles.